Hey guys, welcome back. If I'm looking familiar, it's because I am filming all of these in one day. So we're here to talk about different bookish awards. I really love this idea of giving each book an award. Not each book, but having specific I don't know how to explain this, okay? I've seen this done a couple of times online, and I think it's such a fun idea. I think in one blog it was called the Bookish Oscars, and then another one was Bookish Awards or something like that. So anyways, this is a list of different things, and then I will put a book. So let's just go ahead and get into it, and you'll catch on. I've seen Read with Megan Fox do this, and I've also seen Reagan at Perdue Project do this. And I guess Reagan at Perdue Project actually created the Bookish Oscars tag. Anyways, I'm kind of combining both of these things because there were certain questions on both of them that I enjoyed. So I just kind of did a mashup, and here's my version. Alright, the best male protagonist goes towards Kel from The Swordcatcher. Of all of the books that I read this year, I just feel like he's a really good character I just really liked. The best female protagonist goes to Lancaster, or actually, no, just kidding. Antonetta. Antonetta is a really interesting character from The Swordcatcher. She kind of plays off that she's a bit of a ditz in The Swordcatcher, but Kel knows better, and he is like, girl, why are you acting so dumb? You are so much smarter than this. And I think come book 2, we're going to see her end game, because I think that she wants people to underestimate her, and Kel is the only one that sees through it, and I really like that. It's really cool. Another female protagonist I have to go with is Viv from Legends and Lattes. I don't know, she's just a cool character. The best supporting actor, or in this case, the best sidekick. I have 2 for this. One is Jude's roommate from A Little Life, because my God, is he a saint? I know Jude is going through a lot of stuff, and he deserves love and compassion. But if you've ever had a friend that's just always sad vibes, always has so much drama and things that just bring you down, it's a lot for anyone to take on. And that is this friend of Jude's. And yeah, it's yeah. The next one would be, again, Kel from Swordcatcher, because technically is the sidekick to the prince at all times, but he just stands out so much more than Connor. Connor is, a prince. And Kel is just so much more interesting, I guess, than a prince. The best cinematography, or the book with the best world building. And I think that this is gonna have to go to Legends and Lattes. It definitely deserves accolades for one of the nicest, coziest, rich, and well-described world or settings, because that's pretty much this entire book. This book did not have a whole lot to it. I knew that going into it. It is about Viv, who is an orc who wants to open a coffee shop in a place where they don't even know what coffee is. And she just has this dream and this desire to do something even when nobody understands it. And so she just goes for it. And she gets a couple of new friends to help her set up this building, and they are building cabinetry, and they are decorating and designing and fixing this place up to be just really cozy space while they talk and get along and stuff like that. And I thought it was one of the first times, I would say, where a book has really changed their setting and interacted with their setting in such a way. The best screenplay, or in other words, the best plot, would have to go to Game of Thrones. I just feel like cover to cover, it just, for being so long, there isn't a single dull moment, and there's just something always happening. And especially when it comes down to like the dialogue, it's so natural, it's so compulsive, and you learn a lot from our characters and the way that they interact with each other, and it's so good. Favorite book to movie adaptation, it's between two. At first I was gonna say Game of Thrones and Anna Karenina, but Game of Thrones book, like I watched all the series of Game of Thrones, and when I read the book, it was just so much more rich, and I loved it just as much. And yes, it's a great adaptation, but I definitely have to go with Anna Karenina because I almost feel like I enjoyed the movie better than the reading experience of Anna Karenina. And it's not that the book wasn't good, it's just that for all it had to say, you can sum that up in the movie just fine. And it's just, Anna Karenina is so long, and retrospectively, like not a whole lot happens. So the next one is best costume, best dressed, a book, a favorite book cover, and I have a few for this one. I really love the cover of Babel. It's, even though it's on one of my worst books of the year list, it's a gorgeous cover. I think that that was another reason why I wanted to love it so much. The next one, I really love the cover of Wayward, and I also love the cover of the Inheritance games. These covers are like puzzles in and of themselves, and you can go in and pick out the different pieces. Like here is a little ballerina that goes in a music box, and if you know, you know. Here is a chess piece, and oh, here's like a key. On the second one, there's this chess piece that is like, that has like jewels on it. I just feel like these give you so much to look at. Yeah, so that's why these have to go on the list. All right, the best documentary or best nonfiction. I do not read nonfiction, except that I did read an art book. Oh, it's called Your Year in Art. And every single week for an entire year, it gives you like homework, and you pick one page in it, and that is the one technique that you work on for the entire week. And if you want to draw every single day, great. If you just manage to work on it maybe 1 or 2 days, it's completely up to you, obviously, but that's what you do for a week, and it gives you prompts for the entire year, week by week. And I just feel like it's such a great tool to kind of get back to the fundamentals of art and not overthink things. And you should, if you're an artist, you should always be working on those fundamentals, like and always come back to those fundamentals. So that is something that I really wanted to get better at last year, was kind of reconnecting to art. And I was unsuccessful, but I still have the book, and here's to hoping again in the future. The next one I read, it was the very, very end of the year, was a magazine. And I have one more. I read a magazine because I got a Kindle. And I got the Kindle Unlimited subscription for Christmas. And you can check out magazines. And I saw that there was a BBC History magazine, and it featured Charles Dickens. So I read the articles in that, and that was so cool. All right, book with the best artistic feature. And I usually like to read a lot more graphic novels, but this was a sad year, and I did not get to read any, except for a graphic novel called Primer. And it is such a cool concept. I love it, especially if you are like an arty person, you like to paint and you like art. And this is about a girl who is an orphan. No, yeah. Her dad gets put in prison, and so she goes to live with a foster family. And this mother is a scientist, and she has this like paint. The girl gets into the paint and realizes that it possesses unique qualities that give her like superhero powers. So she goes out to fight crime with these magic paints, and it is so cool. I love it. The best director or author of the year, and that is going to go to George R.R. Martin. Are we surprised? The best picture, or favorite standalone, and that's gonna go to Snow Child. Now these are other awards that were separate from, that was the Oscars award list, and these are other ones that I liked from reading with Megan Fox. The best villain is going to go to a character named Rose, who comes from a book called The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth, and she is the older sister. And I hope that that's not a spoiler if you have not read this book, but yeah, it's twisted. If you like thrillers, I don't read a lot of thrillers, but if you like thrillers, definitely check out Sally Hepworth. I've read 2 of her books now, and they both like had my jaw dropped by the end. The worst cover is going to go to, okay, I've kind of got 3 for this. We're gonna go with Dark Lover, and the only reason is because it is just so outdated. It's so atypical of like a, you know, fantasy romance, and I would like to see new covers for these. Like, I see these covers and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be tacky. I don't want to read that. And I just wonder if they got a little bit of a cover update, if maybe they'd be more appealing to pick up. The next one goes to Girls at 17 Swan Street, and the reason this one is because it feels like it does not portray the book at all. The cover made me think that it was about ballet dancers, and while our main character did do some time dancing, it's about eating disorders, and she's going into an inpatient care as an adult. And then the last one, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the book, is Fall of Wrath and Ruin. I mean, I guess I do kind of like it. The blue is kind of shimmery and stuff, but it just seems kind of basic. And oh my God, do you realize? I didn't realize it looked like wings, but I didn't see that there's like actual crows. Yeah, and I don't understand the sword. I don't understand the ravens. Like, it's just, I didn't care. I think they could have done better. Best translated work, I don't think I've read any other translated work except for Anna Karenina, so by default, it gets the best. Books that I have mixed feelings about. Pretty much the majority of my reading was mixed feelings. But I'm gonna go with A Little Life. It is so incredibly well written, it is so good, but it's so hard to be like, is it really good? Because of like the tough topics really kind of puts me at this like, I don't know why, I just always have like mixed feelings about it. There's a couple others I went ahead and put on here too, and that is Babel and Raven Boys. Like, I know I put these on my worst books, and I literally just filmed that video, and so it reminded me why they are on the list. I keep having mixed feelings about them because I'm like, well, maybe I don't remember. Maybe they need a second chance. Maybe I need to be in a different mindset when I read them again. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about those. Authors that I want to read more of. Definitely George R.R. Martin. And the author of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I do not want to butcher her name. So that's why I'm just saying the author of this book. I know she has a second book. I don't know if it's the sequel to this book, but either way, I'm going to have to read it. And Jennifer Barnes. I see that she has written a lot of other like series, and if she can write these really cool witty puzzles, then I am really intrigued to know like how some of her other series go. Whenever I come in here, the cats they just want to get into stuff. Sora in particular just wants to get into stuff. My most read author of the year. Now, this year in particular, I didn't read a lot of these authors, but in the grand scope of most read authors, I have read the most of Cassandra Clare and Jennifer L. Armentrout. The best sequel. Oh, you know, I was thinking that I read one sequel, but it wasn't very good. I don't remember what that is, but I'm just kidding. I literally read this entire series, and so I read a couple of good sequels. Hawthorne Legacy and Final Gambit. Both were good sequels. Most unique premise. I'm probably gonna have to go with Babel and Piranesi. Piranesi just as a whole was just bizarre. It's definitely unique, even if it didn't work, but it's worked for a lot of people, even if it didn't work for me. The best short book. I read Heather the Totally and Milkweed. I really liked both of these books. Heather the Totally, I feel like it didn't have the greatest title, but I really enjoyed the book. So it's about this girl Heather, but she's not really like an active role in the story. Kenny, get out of there. What it's really about is her dad, who has noticed this construction worker who has watched her. This construction worker, and it's for such a short book, it also is in both of their heads. This construction worker has like a dark past, and he gets out of prison and he notices Heather walking on the street. So you're in his head, in his obsessive thoughts as he's fantasizing about her. And it's so creepy. And then her dad's perspective notices this going on, and Heather's completely oblivious. I think at some point he does approach her and talk to her. And then her dad is kind of torn. Like, does he freak out because people are going to look at his beautiful daughter? Is he going to tear their head off every time someone notices her? So he's kind of torn whether or not he's being out of line or not. It's so eerie and so creepy and disturbing. And it's almost like if you notice people noticing you, like, is it going to get in your head? Are you going to start wondering like, oh my God, are they creepy? Or like, are they just a nice normal person who just noticed you? Because you don't know. That's the scary thing, is you never know. The longest book I read, and this is according to Goodreads, it put Anna Karenina as the longest book at 838 pages. My second longest book would be Game of Thrones, which is at 800 pages. But also, you know, I feel like they're so close, because if you're reading like a mass market versus a trade paperback versus like depending on what style the book is, they have different page counts. So anyways, those are the two longest books I read. The most read genre is fantasy. The best twist, I'm gonna have to go with Inheritance Games for the best twist, because it had tons of twists. So you think one thing, and then all of a sudden it flips it on its head and you're going the other direction. And it does that constantly. It always keeps you on its toes. So however, the second one is going to have to be Secret Society of Irregular Witches, because while I feel like the very ending like shocked me. It completely shocked me. Piranesi had a decent twist too. The best group of misfits, and this is gonna have to go towards the very Secret Society of Irregular Witches again, because all of the characters that are living under this house are all from different walks of life. They've all found each other, they found their family, and they just work so good together. They're so cozy and loving and warming and want to take care of each other. The book that took the longest to finish is going to go towards A Little Life. Oh, I forgot. A Little Life is up there over 800 pages as well. Anyways, the book that took the longest to finish is going to be A Little Life. I think it took me a solid 3 to 4 months to finish that book. And that wasn't just like reading steadily. That was like me also taking quite a long break in the middle. But it did feel like it took forever. The best character development is going to have to go towards A Little Life, because I felt like in particular it was a very deep study into the characters, and I feel like we got to really, when we were in Jude's head, we could see maybe how he presents to the outside world, but then the thoughts that go through his head and how he thinks that people see him. So you have all of these different perspectives kind of coming together, and you also learn about why he thinks that way about himself, about other people, about his role and his, like, it can get very, very complex. And so that's why that one wins. Most likely to give me an existential crisis, that's definitely going to go to A Little Life. You know what? Now that I talk about it, Heather the Totally might also hit that mark a little bit. A trope that's an exception to a trope. For me, that's romance tropes. I really don't like fantasy romances that are heavy on the romance. Oh, I have two for this. So first I have the X-Hex, which for me, as a general rule, and I feel that these like quirky romances are so predictable and so cookie cutter that I have a really hard time like enjoying them. But the X-Hex was really fun, and it had a ton of magic on the page, and it was just the most random things came out of it. Like, so her friend, someone she knows, one of our characters has a magic shop, and they sell like bath stuff, like aromatherapy bath stuff or whatever, but magic is going haywire in their town, and they have just these little decorations, and they're like these little biting teeth, and they all come alive, and they're just like taking over the store. And I thought that that was just so random and hilarious. So that was a lot of fun. That was an exception. And then another one was Fall of Wrath and Ruin. I ended up really liking this. There definitely was some very like graphic sex scenes, which I generally don't really care for. There was your tropey like ginormous rippling muscles kind of dude. I think what made it different was that Jennifer L. Armentrout really can write great characters, and she has this way of storytelling where she can really amp up that tension, and you want to know what happens next, kind of vibes. So I really enjoyed that one. Underrated books. So according to Goodreads, Primer, the graphic novel, is the least shelved book. But one book, in my own personal opinion, is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I'm surprised I haven't seen more people reading this or talking about it, and maybe they have and they just don't like it as much as I do, but I really liked it. And I just feel like, as far as like my consumption of booktube and my consumption of like book recommendation, which I get book recommendations from Goodreads, from Facebook, from Instagram, from YouTube. So I have a lot of different avenues and a lot of different people that I follow who are in like the book community, and I don't think I've seen anyone talk about this book. So I feel that it's underrated. And the very last question is overrated books. And boy, do I have some unpopular opinions for this one. Legends and Lattes. People are dying over this book. They're saying it's so amazing, it's so good, but everyone does say like there's no plot to it. Like, don't go in expecting some adventure or some plot or anything. It's just vibes, and it definitely delivered. It absolutely did. So my expectations were not any more expected than that, but my actual reading enjoyment of it, I wanted to love it more, and it just kind of fell flat. And I think that's obviously just a personal opinion, that I probably just need more plot. I need something to look forward to, I guess. I'm not sure. The next one is A Far Wilder Magic. I've seen more and more people talking about this book, and they're putting it on, lists of books that they recommend, that they really like. And I just feel like this one did not really do it for me either. It's too slow burn, and there are just, this did actually make it to my worst books of the year list. So if you want to know more about why it didn't work for me, but it's not that it's a bad book, so don't get me wrong. Even though it made it to the list, it was just underwhelming to me, and I wanted to love it because there's a reason that I kept reading it to the end, because it would slow down and then it would pick back up, and I'm like, wait, this is interesting, maybe we're getting somewhere. And so we get to that peak, and then it would start to like slow down again, and I'm like, really? And then it would, just as I was about to like put it down, something interesting would happen, and I kept going back in my memory of what I read so far, thinking, well, there's something here, it's gonna be good, it's got some whimsy, I just have to wait for it. And I just got tired of waiting, to be honest. And then at the end, it left me, it was kind of anticlimactic for me. So yeah, that's, I don't understand what everyone loves about this book. And Piranesi, everyone loves this book and raves about it so much, and I understand the charm and kind of and liking that quirkiness, and I can appreciate what it does, but I don't think it's like the best thing ever. It's kind of mid-level, and that's it. is probably a little lower mid-level for me. And then the very last one is A Farewell to Arms. But if I'm being completely honest, it's Hemingway himself. Ernest Hemingway himself is just an overrated author across the bar. I've read 3 books by Ernest Hemingway now, and I don't like any of them. I have one other book I'm going to read, and it's only because it's a short story collection. And I do think, I have to give it to him that given, I know he has the potential to write beautifully, like by the prologue or whatever, and some things that he's written, but I think that maybe novels, like full-length novels, are maybe just not his thing. Maybe he's going to do better with short stories, because I almost wonder if A Farewell to Arms would have been better if it was a short story. Like, there was a very interesting message, especially when it came to his relationship with Catherine, that when everything is doomed, these people just want to cling to anything of hope. They just need that like slice of happiness in their life, and so they kind of use each other to gain that. And I thought that was such an amazing concept, but his characters were just so grating that I could not enjoy that. So yeah, I couldn't really appreciate that as I was reading these dialogue through these horrible characters. But anyways, all right, that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.